Barakatay Hawa, Bahashem Yahushai Bahashem Racha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Chi Psi Stigma equals 666. And pretty much this is centered off of a video I was watching last night. Well, actually, during the course of the day, I was watching this video that Elder Pastor did called Shame, 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 the update, a must-watch video. And pretty much he was going into it. And I'm not sure if it was this video or another video where Nate said that the 666 is just a number of a man or something along those lines, which is really the number of the whole beast system of Esau. I just put this video in the description, in the comment section of the live lesson. I forgot. I mean, it actually came to me afterward to grab it, so I wasn't able to put it in there. But pretty much we're going to deal with that 666 or stigma, or should I say Chi Psi Stigma, you know, to show you that it's all a part of the system, not just something that, you know, it's just a number of a man, you know, like almost, I mean, I don't think he's saying that, but almost like implying that it's, you know, the Antichrist. So lucky, I'm just stirring up this, you know, this coffee that I made. I'm not trying to get y'all in the sunken place by the spoon and the cup, whatever. You know how that woman was trying to get Jake. Anyways, years ago, excuse me, Spirit had me do a lesson on Revelation 17 and 5. This is a re-upload on GMS Info Doc Channel 12. I believe it was on GMS Info Doc Channel 11. It's on GMS Lashawan Kodash in 2 parts. And I'm not sure if it was on GMS Lexicon or GMS that got clipped. But in this video, you know, the Spirit had me go through the phrase in the Hebrew of Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abomination of the earth. And how that, when you break those down, it goes into, in the Hebrew, goes into a numbering system. And the 3 phrases, Babylon the Great, mother of harlots and abominations of the earth, those 3 phrases separate from each other, when you tally up the numbering system of the Hebrew, they all add up to 666. So here in Revelation 13:18, it says, here is wisdom. Matter of fact, before we get to that, let's go here real quick. Let me move this over. Revelation 17:5, and upon her forehead, meaning America's forehead, the whore, Babylon the Great, was a name written, mystery. So it's a mystery. Now, keep in mind, when you read the Hebrew is more of a straightforward language. It doesn't have all these fillers that you have in the English language. In the English language, you have to put a lot of fillers in to make sense of the sentence. In the Hebrew, it's just straightforward. You know, you don't have to add all the extra words in there to make a sentence. It's just straightforward. Just like, you know, like Gad, you know, would speak, you know, like straightforward, because that's how the that's how the Hebrew language is. You know, me go kill white man now, you know. It wasn't all that, and I will go and I will, you know, all of that other extra stuff, all that extra cheese. So when you break down these 3 phrases, Babylon the Great, or Baba Hagadawala, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth, when you get to Babylon the Great, it's just straightforward. I try to find it online. The one site that I did have with the Hebrew New Testament, they clipped that. Then I had another Hebrew New Testament, they clipped that. Then I just went to another Hebrew New Testament, and it had a different word. So it was kind of tough to get through it. But here in this one, the word that they have here is wala thawa'ib. So like a wala thawa'ib nawath. Now this worked And I believe you had to remove the la out of there. Like I said, the Hebrew language is straightforward. So it should be and abominations earth, or the earth. You don't have to add the la, in there. So and abominations of the earth. And this added up to the 666. All right. I'm sorry, not this one. It was the Ama La za one wath. What you hear, Ama La za one wath. That I believe this one here, you had to drop the la, if I'm not mistaken, or it was a part of it. Like I said, it's been years since I've gone over this breakdown, so it's going to be tough to to go through it unless I go back over it and I review it and then be able to break it down again. But this video pretty much breaks it down. So those are the three phrases, and all three of these phrases, when you break them down, they break down into 666, which is where you get your term chi, psi, stigma, which we'll get to that. Now here you have the Aramaic Hebrew, right? A, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, cha, ta, all the way down to tha. Now the Hebrew numbering system goes from 1 to 10, from a, ba, ga, which is 1, ba is 2, ga is 3, all the way till you get to ya. Ya is 10. When you go to ka, they go up by increments of 10. So ka is 20, la is 30, ma is 40, so on and so forth. Then qua is 100. When you get to qua, the letters after that, they all increase by 100. Why that is, I don't know. It's just a numbering system for the letters, so you have qua, ra, sha, tha. So 100, 200, 300, 400. And when you go back here, you break it down, like the a would be 1 and the ma would be 40. So that would be 41. And then you would add these together here, all of these letters, and then what you would do is add all of the numbers. Once you get a tally of every letter and how every letter, let's see. Let me see if it'll come up right here. Once you get, the la, you wouldn't have it there. It would be Ama, Zawanwath, mother, harlots. All right. So you see how you have the tha, which is 400, the wa, which is 6, the na, which is 50, so on and so forth. You will add every number of each of these letters together, and you would get a total of 510. Then when you add 5 plus 1 plus 0 equals 6. That would be the second 6. Babal Hagadawala, same thing. And then abominations of the earth, same thing. This is where you get the 666. This is why it's a mystery. This is why it even says here, and upon her forehead was a name written, mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. Now you have to kind of go over it because it's a little bit more advanced. So you kind of have to go over it a few times before you could actually get it. But I showed you, the numbering system. And when we get to Revelation 13 and 18, it says, here is wisdom. So the prophets were given visions. The prophets were also given breakdowns of the vision, even though they didn't understand the vision because the vision wasn't in their time. But they were given breakdowns. Like that's why it says, here is wisdom. So the angel of the Lord is breaking it down to John the Revelator, or John, the Apostle John. It says, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast. So it's not just a number of one particular man. It's the number of the beast. When we look at the beast it has 7 heads, 10 horns, and 10 crowns upon those 10 horns. And when we go to the 17th chapter, it breaks down what those 7 heads and 10 horns represent, which is a whole conglomeration of the different empires of Esau. And Bishop Nathaniel should know this because he was at One West, and this was something I was taught about the 7 heads, 10 horns. This was a constant rotation and repetition every week, So I don't, he must have either took the bag or the Lord took it away from him for a period of time. And I say that for a reason. There's a dream that he had, he told of the Apostle Tar, And, at the end of the dream, he got the oil back, which the oil represents the knowledge. Right? It says, for it is the number of a man. Yeah, because this beast is not an actual beast. It is a people, a nation of people, which are the Edomites. It says, and his number is 600, 6. You have 600, which is 600. 3 is 60. A score is 20. So 20 times 3 is 60. And then 6. So 666, which breaks down to the Greek equivalent of 3 letters, chi, psi, stigma. And chi, psi, stigma, each one of those letters adds up to 666. It doesn't really break it down here what it means, so we're going to have to go through, other sources to get more of an understanding. So it just says 666, the meaning of which is the basis of much vain speculation, because it's a mystery, and the mystery was not revealed to Esau, but it was revealed to the prophets. Let's go to Amos chapter 3 and 7. It says, surely the Lord power will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets. Right. So these mysteries have been revealed, because prior to the Lord bringing down a particular empire, mysteries have to be revealed. The people that are ruling have to be told what's going on. They have to be revealed, and then afterward comes the judgment of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So Colossians chapter 1. Oh, and by the way, man, Satan don't like this. He don't like this lesson for some reason. Because as I was trying to put something together, I was drinking a green juice earlier, and the green juice, Satan made me knock it over. It spilled all over my keyboard, all over the floor. I was catching hell trying to put this lesson together. So Lord's will, it'll be an edifying lesson. So Colossians 1:25, whereof I am made whereof, Salakia, I am made a minister. This is the Apostle Paul speaking, according to the dispensation of the Most High, which is given to me for you. Each prophet has a certain portion given to them, to fulfill the word of the Most High, even the mystery which hath been hid from ages, which is what? A secret, and from generations, but now is made manifest to his saints. So who are the saints? The Israelites. But then you have the prophets among the saints that are the ones that are giving these revelations and mysteries and prophecies, so on and so forth. All right. So going back, and it goes into the Israelite foreigner mystery, which the Gentiles or the Israelite foreigners were being brought back into the fold, eventually. But in general, all mysteries are revealed to the prophets. All right, we just read that in Amos 3. And the reason why I said that is, well, see, he didn't read the 27th verse, which deals with the Gentiles. You know how vocab does. All right, so now, dealing with that, let's go from there, because it said chi, psi, stigma, right? Now, which is 666. Now, we're going to get into something called the Universal Product Code. So just bear with me 1 second. Universal Product Code is a UPC symbol, which is the symbol that you see here. And these are product codes to identify what the product is, how many they have available in inventory, how many they need to order, how many they've sold, so on and so forth. It's a tracking system, which was created by an individual by the name of George Laurer, which was an Edomite, or seems to be like an Edomite, that worked for a company called IBM, which pretty much IBM, had a different name. I don't remember offhand right now the old name that they went under, tabulating system or something like that, which the word tabulating is where you get the word tabs, or keeping tabs on people. And this is what they did. They set up a system to where they can keep tabs on products, but they had, remember, whatever they do, it's a trial run for something else. So your social security number, these UPC codes, these were all, things that they did to test them or trials for the real deal, which is the MOTB, which is a C-hip. Now it says George Joseph Laurer III was an American engineer for IBM at Research Triangle Park in North Carolina. He published 20 bulletins, held 28 patents, and developed the Universal Product Code, UPC, in the early 1970s. He devised the coding and pattern used for the UPC based on Joe Woodland's more general idea for barcodes. And the reason why they have these barcodes is because they want to track. Of course, they're not going to, they have to have a trial first, so they're going to do it on products, but eventually people are products, because when you have a slave is a commodity. A slave is not a person in the eyes of Esau. A slave is nothing more than a commodity, something that you buy and sell, on the open stock market. This is why even to this very day, the birth certificates, which is what makes us slaves to, these adhesion contracts, are still sold on the open stock market, because that's how they trade, because we are nothing more than commodities to these devils. This is why it says here in Revelation 18:11, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise anymore. Why? Because America, Babylon the Great, will be destroyed. The merchandise, and this is what we are, we're nothing but merch. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones. Matter of fact, let's look up this word merchandise. It goes to the Greek word gomos, which is a lading or freight of a ship, cargo. So we're nothing more than cargo. Oh, you can't say that, man. We're people, man. We're individuals, man. She's a fucking human being. Why must you hate? Inside joke. Merchandise conveyed in a ship, any merchandise, right? So it goes on to say of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen, and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all fine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble. And these are all things that are found here on the shores of America, that they sell. All these nations are bringing all of these different, vessels and clothing or whatever made of all of these different fabrics and, whatever they have, whatever have you, are being sold here. Then it goes on to say in cinnamon and odors and ointments, because you could buy furniture, you can buy incense, you can buy perfume, you can buy cologne, you can buy whatever. You can buy spices that come from different parts of the world. It says, and frankincense and wine and oil, right? You can buy wine, you can buy liquor, whatever, and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep. Yeah, so you can buy, and horses. You could buy animals and chariots. You can buy cars. Cars are being made all around the world and that are sent here. It says what? And slaves. See, because to the international banking families, we're nothing more. That's what they call everyone goyim, which they say goyim means cattle, but goyim really simply just means nations. That's where you get the word goyim from, or Gentile. It just means nations, But I don't know where they get the term cattle from, but that's what they call the people, goyim, or cattle. So slaves and what? And souls of men, because America is a big on selling, you're selling, your soul here in America. Salakia. That's a big thing that goes on, around the world too, but mainly here in America. Right? So now let's look up this word slaves. And this is something that's traded out on the open stock market. How they do it, they have their ways and their secrets. Soma. It says the body both of men or animals. See? The dead body or corpse. And they did this in ancient Rome. They show you that in the movie Gladiator. Where they would bring gladiators. They would capture people. They would capture different individuals from different parts of the world. And they would sell them to the Romans as gladiators. They would sell exotic animals, It says a dead body or corpse, the living body of animals, the bodies of planets and stars, So we get the point. The body both of men or animals. All right, so that's what this was all about. You know, the UPC code or the barcodes were a way of tracking products. People are products, slaves are products to the bankers. Remember that. And if you don't think so, you ain't doing enough research yet. Don't worry, little brother. There's more. All right, now let's move on. So now we're going to move on from there to the actual UPC or Universal Product Code. All right. Which is right. Nope, that's not it. I thought I had a... Right here. What is a Universal Product Code? UPC. A UPC, short for Universal Product Code, is a type of code printed on retail product packaging to aid in identifying a particular item. It consists of two parts: the machine-readable barcode, which is a series of unique black bars, what you see here, these are the black bars, and the unique 12-digit number beneath it, and these are the numbers beneath it. Now, each bar, depending on the thickness or how many there are, each represent a number from 1 to 0, you know, from 1 to 10, pretty much. Well, 1 through 9, and then you have the 0. Now, notice that these two numbers at the end, 0 and 5, don't have any letters above them. This is just a part of the tracking system, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 numbers, as we said, we read here. Now, when you look at the barcodes, right? Each number, if you go over each number has a bar, you know, with a certain type of thickness to identify when they scan it to identify what this particular product is. So you have number 1, you have number 2, which are two lines which are spread apart. You have number 3, which is 2 thick lines spread apart. You have 4. I'm sorry, this is something else. You have 4 here, this line here. Then you have number 5. So the way they're set up, then you have 6. Now 6 is what? 2 small lines side by side. You know, then you have 7, 8, you know, so on and so forth. But what you do have here is, if you look at the 6, the 2 lines that are identical side by side, at the beginning, middle, and end of the barcode, you have these same lines, because these 3 lines here, it's actually 6 lines, 1, 2, 3, that's where you get your 666, because when you look at the 6, the 2 lines equal the 6. You have a 6 here, a 6 there, and a 6 here. So that's 666. So this is all a part of the same system. It's a tracking system. And it all revolves around buying and selling. This is why in Revelation, the 13th chapter, it says, the 17th verse, and that no man might buy or sell, save he or only he that had the MARK, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. And the angel of the Lord gave the Apostle John the number, which is 666. Now, I found some info online here, just typed in a couple of words. This is Greek stigma, Latin stigmata. Greek stigma, Latin stigmata, tattoo. Brand, mark, blot, scar, prick, social blot, scar of service, burn mark, sign of shame. And the Spirit always has me go to Galatians 6 and 17 to go into that. So we're going to get to that. But before we get into that, let's continue on here. Now, what you have here is really the Karax, which the Karax is the delivery system of etching these marks into the skin. All right. Now, you could brand, with a hot branding iron, or you can prick into the skin. And this is what the Apostle John saw on the island of Patmos when he saw the people coming, and being branded with this particular MARK, which is the MOTB, which is the C-hip. And everyone that had that mark was destined to be destroyed, but they also were able to operate and do business, in society. Those that didn't were not able to partake. And this is pretty much, everyone's going to be left to the mercy of the so-called banking elite, but the elect are going to be left to the mercy of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. So it says, an awl was used to pierce the ears of a slave. An earring was given to show that the slave was attached to his master. And this was the awl. Today, it would be in the form of the so-called, jab that is used to send forth the C-hip under the skin or under the in the skull, or wherever they put it at, It says background information. Greco-Roman culture branded marks where Greco-Roman culture branded marks were given to domestic animals, slaves, criminals, soldiers, and worshipers, followers. You see? So pretty much they have everything categorized. Categorio, in Revelation 12, the accuser of thy brethren. So because Esau, his thing is categorizing everything, because everything has to make sense to him. It says it was customary to brand cattle as a means to make theft more difficult. Did you hear that? It was customary to brand cattle as a means to make theft more difficult. And this is why they want to brand people with this particular device, so that they can't cut out the international banking families from every transaction that they make, because they want it all. They're not satisfied with having hundreds of trillions of dollars. They want everything that you have, everything that we have, and they want us as, perpetual slaves for all eternity. This is why they created the central bank, and they have central banks around the world working together for the same purpose, to put the whole world into slavery, into debt. Because debt, when someone is in debt, debt brings forth slavery. Because when you have nothing else to pay with money-wise, you have to give up your cattle, you have to give up your home, you have to give up your land, and eventually when there's nothing else to give, you have to give up yourself as a servant. You see? And this is why sometimes in Israel, Jake would fall, into that. They will fall into poverty, and they would have to sell themselves over to an Israelite, and sometimes they even had to sell themselves over to other nations. And what happened with when it came to an Israelite, they would work for the Israelite for like 6 years, and then be set free on the 7th year. And by that time, the Israelite master that he worked for would provide a sufficient amount of money and goods so that he can pretty much be sustained again. And if he happened to fall into poverty and be sold to a nation, to another nation, then his brother, if he had the money, or if he had the money sufficient enough, he can buy his own freedom, or his kin can buy his freedom for him. So slavery is something that's been around as long as the world has been here. All right. And this is why they're pushing that debt slavery on people, because they know that ultimately when you have nowhere to go, you got to come to them. So at the end of the day, this is why Yahweh Shai said, because you have kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them. The man who bore the stigma, a sign of dishonor since antiquity, was given to robbers, criminals, slaves, and prisoners. Plato's law, number 9, 854d, states, whosoever is caught robbing a temple, if he be a foreigner or slave, his curse shall be branded on his forehead. Caligula even branded the foreheads of some citizens who were condemned to forced labor in the construction of buildings and roads. See, the runaway slave was branded on the forehead with the letters FUG, meaning fugitivus or fugitive. Right. And this is why in slavery, this is another way that America, you know, was revived in the same way that the ancient Roman Empire was. When they revived, it pretty much got its power from ancient Rome, not just governmentally or financially, but also in the dealing of slaves, dealing of commerce, business, so on and so forth. Desire for marks. In some situations, marks are given to denote membership in a group, tribe, or cultic deity. Yeah, like you have them Hamites, they have tribal marks. The recruit to the Roman army was marked by tattooed signs on the hand. This mark denotes loyalty to one's superior. But there was an actual mark, you know, because you have Bishop Nathaniel, which teaches, and others teach, that the right hand represents, you know, loyalty, and then the forehead represents, you know, your mindset, or however they broke it down. But no, it's going to be something that's actually put in there, because ancient customs also did the same thing. They would brand it on the hand, they would brand it on the forehead. But in this case, in today's time, seeing that knowledge has increased, they're talking about everything going subdermally, which is under the skin. When a follower was given the sacred mark, he was dedicated to the god and became its servant. Therefore, this servant was put under the god's protection. The servant of the god Dionysius Bacchus was given a tattoo of an ivy leaf. See? Dionysius was the god of the grape harvest. Then his master shall bring him to God, and he shall bring him to the door or doorpost, and his master shall pierce his ear with an awl, and he shall serve him permanently. And that goes also with Exodus 21. You know? Old Testament, interestingly, this rarely corresponds to the Greek understanding of stigma. Matter of fact, before we get to that, because, you know, they have the mark of Cain here too, which the mark of Cain was actually something physical, because he was actually turned leprous. But that has nothing to do with the mark of the beast, or the MOTB. Now, let's go real quick here to Galatians before we get back. Galatians 6:17, from henceforth let no man trouble me. This is the Apostle Paul speaking. For I bear in my body the marks of the Lord Yahushai. Now, the Lord Yahushai was actually, there were actually marks pricked into his hands, into his feet, into his side. All right? Now, the Apostle Paul is using it here figuratively, but these are actually marks that actually happened to the Lord. This is why he told Thomas, look, put your hand in the prince, and put your hand in my side, and you'll see that it's me. And when he realized it was him, he said, my Lord and my God. Now, when we go to the word stigma, right, it comes from the root word from a primary stizo, to stick, an example, prick, because you have to cut into to make a certain incision. Let me get this other precept real quick, and then we get back to it. All right, cool. So stigma, right? It says a mark pricked in or branded upon the body. To ancient Oriental usage, slaves and soldiers bore the name or the stamp of their master or commander, branded or pricked, cut into their bodies to indicate what master or general they belong to, right? And just like in Revelation 13, this mark here, I'm not sure if it's going to say it here. Let's see, which is charagma, which is the actual device that makes you the slave. Let me see. Right. Of the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand as the what? Badge of the followers of the Antichrist. You see? So the actual branding, it's an actual badge. When you go to work, you have to have a badge, right? And, you know, in certain places, you know, to get in the building and out, they give you a particular badge, and you wave the badge or you swipe the badge, and you can get in and out. You know, I worked for Amazon years ago, and that was so. I had a badge, I had to wave it to get in, you know, to the place. But they're going to actually put it into someone. As we read over here, to make it more difficult to steal. See? So you won't be able to operate in this system that's coming without the MARK, which is, or the MOTB, which is the C-hip of Esau. All right. So now going back. So it says, and there were even some devotees. This is going back to the word stigma. There were even some devotees who stamped themselves in this way, with the token of their gods. All right, stizo, to stick, prick. A MARK, incised or punched, for recognition of ownership. You see? And Bishop Nathaniel is not a dummy. Bishop Nathaniel is a very astute and very good researcher. So he knows if he goes to these words, he'd be able to understand it if the Spirit is working with him, unless he took the bag or the Lord just took it from him temporarily. And I say that because even when I was setting the lesson up, I pulled up this video that Elder Apostle Tahar did. What I did was I watched the whole video, so it started anew. So I just scrolled it forward to just so you can see Bishop Nathaniel, and look where it landed on 31:31. 3 and 1 is 4. 3 and 1 is 4. That's 2 4s, and 4 represents mercy. You know, so the Lord, you know, we believe He's going to have mercy on Bishop Nathaniel. He just got him blinded for the time being, and eventually he's going to get the oil back. You know, and if he doesn't get it back on this side, he'll get it back on the other side. But we believe the Lord is going to have mercy on him. You know, even though you get angry and upset, but we have to understand that our emotions have nothing to play in the Most High's plans. Doesn't matter what we feel like. Whatever the Lord wants, that's what's going to go down. When the Most High took Ezekiel's wife, you know, from him, he told him, you better not cry. When the Lord took the 2 sons of Aaron, you know, he told him, you better not uncover your head. You better not cry. You know, the Most High, man, he's, you know, Yahweh is terrible. You know, so our emotions play nothing in the scheme of things when it comes to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai's plans. All right, so going back, let's see what else we could glean from here. So that was stigma, scar of service, mark, right? So this was an actual MARKs that was on the Lord's body, which goes into the word stigma. And when we go back to Revelation 13, right, the 18th verse, where it brings out the number of the beast or the man, 666, when you go to the actual Greek of it, is broken down as chi, psi, stigma. The last letter stigma, which it doesn't really break it down here, but when you go, and the Spirit of the Lord is beautiful because He made sure that there was a place in the Bible, in the scriptures, that goes into that word stigma. And it actually explains what the word stigma means. Now, when we go to Leviticus 19 and 28, it says, you shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any what? MARKs upon you. I am the Lord. This is where looking up words in the original language is so key and very important. Because when you look up the MARK of Cain, right? MARK of Cain, right? It says, and the Lord said unto him, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord said a MARK upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. So if you read it in English, like, well, that's the same thing, because it says it's using the same English word. But when you go to the Hebrew of Cain, the MARK, right? It's the word awath. All right? Sign, signal, a distinguishing mark, because there was an actual curse put on him, which was the Lord stripped him of his pigment. And this is why the Mormons use this, but in reverse. They say that to have dark skin is a curse, but the scriptures say that to have so-called white-looking skin is a curse. That is leprosy, but they tried to flip it. because otherwise the narrative wouldn't fit them. Just like vocab and his cronies, they have to have something called replacement theology, where they remove Israel out of the Bible and put themselves in it. That's the only way it'll work. Taking out something so you can be a part of it. And the Lord's going to get them devils for that. So when we go, and this was actually a physical mark on Cain, right? When we go to Ezekiel, right? We're going to come back to this, Ezekiel 9 and 4. But when we go to Leviticus 19 and 28, this marks here is also physical. Because the word print is used, meaning to cut into, and then marks, upon you. Why? Because that is a devotion to other gods, because the Most High didn't tell us to mark ourselves like that. The Lord marked us spiritually, not physically. Right? So when we look up the word, you have cuttings, sharat, you have print, and then you have the word marks, which goes to the Greek word kwai. Now the Hebrew word kwai is the Hebrew equivalent of the Greek word charagma, also stigma, right? Same as kwai. So it says here, what? Incision. What is an incision? A cutting in. Incision, or what? Gash. Not Asian gash, inside joke, but a gash. Incision. A surgical cut made in skin or flesh. See? And that's where they want to use. This is why this devil Noah Harari Yuval, or whatever the hell his name is, he's always talking about tracking people subdermally. Klaus Schwab, Cotton Schwab, always talks about, tracking people subdermally, but especially that little hat mole. He's always speaking about that. It says a mark or decoration cut into a surface. Come on, man. And it's not that hard. Incision, imprintment, tattoo, mark. Because when you actually get a tattoo, what happens? There's an actual needle used, and that needle cuts into your flesh to put that ink in there to draw whatever it is that you're getting tattooed on your flesh, which you shouldn't do that. And then what? mark. So that's why it's important to go into the actual word language that this word came into in order to be able to understand better. Now, when we go to Ezekiel 9 and 4, and the Lord said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh and that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. When you go to this word mark, in the Hebrew once again, because if you don't, then these are all the same word. I don't understand. It's all the same word. Why can't it just be the same? So, yeah, subcutaneous, meaning under the nails. Yep. There's also another subcutaneous. That's under the nails. When you look at this word mark here, this word here is thawa, which is different from awath for Cain, which awath was an actual physical mark put upon Cain. Then you have the word kwai, which is an actual physical mark, which the kwai is synonymous with the charagma and stigma. All right? And the thawa is a spiritual mark from the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, because the Most High is spiritual, Esau is carnal. So it says, desire mark as a sign of exemption from judgment. So these are individual spirits out here of Israel that are part of the elect, that are set aside so that they won't be judged. They're exempted from judgment because they are part of the elect and they will be saved. So you see how when you look up these words in the original language, how it makes more sense, how it gives you a better understanding. And like Elder Apostle Tar said, and we've been saying this for years, why don't you just, keep Easter? Well, no, that's talking about the past. No, but it says Easter. Keep Easter. You know, get your whole congregation to paint purple bunny eggs, purple and gold bunny eggs, and hide them, and have the cheerings go and get them. Don't celebrate the Passover. Celebrate Easter. Acts 12:4 says Easter. But it's a matter of convenience when it comes to that. So we'll see. We'll see. So it goes on to say Old Testament. Interestingly, this rarely corresponds to the Greek understanding of stigma. Instead of meaning stigma, this term literally means a little ball, a piece of jewelry, point and moment. Other Hebrew terms convey the notion of an mark expressing attachment to a man or to the Most High, right? Which that's what we read, the Thawah. When a slave wanted to attach himself to his master, the slave's ear was pierced by an awl at the doorpost in the Most High's presence. The slave's earring indicated a mark of slavery and sign of becoming protected by his master. And when you take this charagma from these devils, the sea ragamuffin, that's going to be a protection. You're going to make him your God, and you're going to be his slave, his devotee, you know, his disciple. And that's why they want to do it. So this, I don't know why they said that up here, but this, the Old Testament quite corresponds with stigma, corresponds with charagma. All right. It says sacral marks. Sacral markings are found in Jacob's prophetic mission and in the Most High's commitment to Jerusalem. In Isaiah 44:5, Jacob claims this one shall write on his hand. The Lord's, this alludes to the Babylonian custom of tattooing the slave's hand. Likewise, the Most High makes a confession of Jerusalem in caring for the city. For the Most High has written your name, Jerusalem, in his hands. This helps us understand why the feast of the Passover and redemption of the firstborn are to be taken seriously, as if ever. All right, so we had to get back to that. The mark of Cain, which we already broke that down, which was a physical mark that was placed upon Cain, which was leprosy, which was the same thing that happened to Miriam. Miriam had an actual physical mark on her when the Lord stripped her of her pigment, and it told us that she was turned white as snow. All right. Then it says New Testament. Interestingly, this term occurs only once, which Barakatah Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, because otherwise, you know, it could have been just left to interpretation. In Galatians 6:17, it is unclear whether or not Paul is speaking figuratively or literally. He was speaking figuratively, but he was speaking literally of the prints that were in Yahushai's hands, his feet, and his side. And that was actual and factual. Matter of fact, I believe that's St. John 20, the 20th chapter. We try print. Yep. The other disciples therefore said unto him, we have seen the Lord. But he said unto them, except I shall see in his hand the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. Let me see. All right. So let's look up this word print real quick. Print. The word is tupos or typos. Tupos, you know, when you type, it says the mark of a stroke or blow. Print. A figure formed by a blow or impression of a figure or image. In this case is what? The MOTB, which is the C hip, of the image of the gods. Right? Because you had devotees that marked themselves like that form. So you get the idea. It could be either way. It could be either physical or spiritual. In this case, this is talking about physical. Because if somebody said, no, the prince and the Lord, they were really spiritual. Then that individual is gone. He got issues. Because Yahushua even said down here, then said he to Thomas, reach hither thy finger and behold my hands, and reach hither thy hand and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless but believing. Because there were actually wounds in the Lord from the piercing that he received. And in this article here, at the beginning, they showed you what? The all, which looks just like the delivery system of the C-hip that they use now to insert, that device that will make the person that receives it a total slave. All right, and it goes on and on, this article, and I put this in the description box in case any brothers wanted to, have a little fun with it. But that's the 666, the Chi-Psi stigma. And when you break it down, it all adds up, if you take the time to look into it. But if you sold out, you're not going to do this, because the Lord is not going to, the international bankers, your lords, are not going to allow you to do this, because you are sold out. Therefore, you have to bow down to your master. So it's going to be found out, because the evidence is all in place. 2023 is going to be a very interesting year. Like Elder Pastor said, don't be surprised if a major thing happens once, the whole, shithole goes down. Once 2023 comes in, we're waiting to see what's going to happen. So keep your eyes open, and be continual in prayer. And Lord's will, 2023, the Lord will get us out of here, And they really, really push this MARK, this MOTB, this C-hip. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. Till the next time I say shalom.